injury attorneys at The Advocates can't actually prevent you from being in a cycling accident, they will be by your side to support you following your accident. Our legal services won't cost you a dime out of pocket. So when you need an injury attorney, call us. We're The Advocates, your Utah personal injury attorneys. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on your YouTube machine. Hope you had a spectacular weekend. Talk about the NFL draft coming up. Jake this morning, and look, I understand it. Here on the Monty Show, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com, who every day present the Monty Show. They are the best injury attorneys in the business, and you never pay them out of pocket. In fact, you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. So what do you have to lose by getting to theadvocates.com right now? In fact, 24 hours all day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and chatting with an injury attorney for free. Now, if you're injured like Jake is injured with emotional damage from the absolute horrendous performance out of that elderly senior citizen, Kevin Durant, in an elimination game, I mean, not everybody can score 49 points and make 20 or 21 free throws, which is not what Kevin Durant did. You going to make it, or are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is no matter how many points you put up in that game last night, they lost. So, you know.
Well, the reality is that Devin Booker's the best player on that roster, and Kevin Durant is not.
Right.
Are you ready this morning to mea culpa this bitch?
Nope.
You're not?
Nope.
Why?
Nope.
Why?
Because they got swept. And Book had a couple of bad games. Durant had a couple of bad games.
No, the question is, did Durant have a good game?
You know, like.
I mean, I'm just asking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here just
wondering. The whole
series
isn't on Durant's fucking shoulders, dude.
No, it's that Bradley Beal can't play in the NBA, and he scored 9 points in elimination.
And now we're getting and this is what I'd be ripping Kevin Durant for. Now we're getting Shams reporting that Kevin was unhappy with his role in the offense, and he got, quote, relegated to the corner too often. And now we're getting, hey, they're going to replace Frank Vogel, or there's going to be a strong push. Like, okay, dude, listen, if this team is going to be, you know, drama city, then they should have never been in this series to begin with.
The fact that Bradley Beal's the problem. Yeah. Let's stop beating around the bush with Phoenix. The fact that he scored 9 points in 31 minutes tells you all you need to know about him. The fact that he's not a number one in this league, and he was asked to be a number one at times for this team, and he can't defend. Like, you're watching Kevin Durant, you're watching Devin Booker, who inarguably his defense has improved dramatically.
Yeah,
Bradley Beal can't defend. And you're stuck. You have these three guys. You're not trading Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. I would imagine you would try to move off Bradley Beal. But you look at the way that these guys performed in this series, none of them performed well enough.
Yeah.
None of them. Now, Devin Booker, if you look at the way he played, 49, 23, 20, and 18, is probably not good enough to win you a playoff series.
Yeah.
Not when you average 27 points a game in the regular season. Can't do that. Cannot do that. Not when in this series you only shot 35% from three. Cannot do that. I don't know. I think Frank Vogel is gone. He's as good as hope. He packs his shit and leaves.
Yeah.
But all I would say is you look at Kevin Durant and you look at the fact that he clearly was a cut below who he was in the regular season. Well, we just said that about Durant. We just said that about Devin Booker. And we didn't say that about Bradley Beal because Bradley Beal was who he was all season long. So, in my opinion, he's the problem. And I do agree that you have an offensive issue in Phoenix. And it's not good enough. It's not nearly good enough. And for me, I look at the Lakers. Say whatever you want about Darvin Ham. That team did not quit.
No.
And they're playing tonight, and they're probably going to end their season tonight. But the Suns went through stretches where they just seemed disinterested in a playoff game.
Well, the problem is for the Suns, the difference between the Suns and the Lakers is that the Lakers have a hierarchy on their roster. They have leadership. They have a pecking order.
Yeah.
And the Suns are a couple of, great scorers, great players, generational players, even with Book and Durant, who seemingly, just didn't take a leadership role. Like, obviously Book and Kevin are the leaders of the team, but the idea that Kevin came out, what was it, a couple days ago now, and was like, hey, Frank's the leader of the team. And it's like, no, dude, you and Book are the leaders of the team, and then it's everybody else. And then you've got Book in the post game saying that, oh, well, I got to be better, and Kevin's got to be better, and Coach has got to be better. It's like, dude, bro, you guys have to have a better culture. And the Lakers, I would agree, are probably going to end their season tonight. But the reason that they were able to survive and push it back to Denver was that you have a leadership core, and Bron is leading that group, and there's expectations. And say what you want about Darvin Ham, the Lakers were running offense. Like, D'Lo has been garbage for the first couple of games in this series.
Garbo, please.
And then his Garbo game decided to wake up, and then they were better. So at least with the Lakers, you can say, okay, cool. Like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a odd dynamic at times, but when they're running offense, they're fine. They can win.
Well, and I think the other problem for the Suns is that Anthony Edwards is on the Timberwolves, and that cat's very good. I think he is the only reason that team is elite. I still think it was interesting last night that anybody noticed what the Suns did. The Suns went small and played Rudy Gobert right off the floor. And Karl Anthony Towns was okay last night. 11 of 17 for 28. Anthony Edwards, 13 of 23 for 40 points.
Yeah.
In an elimination game. That's pretty damn good. That is pretty damn good. Dude, did anybody see Chris Finch?
Dude, that
the
was
head coach
nasty,
of the Timberwolves got taken out by Mike Conley.
Bro, that was one of those oddball. That was very reminiscent of like when NFL players go flying into the sideline, and like Buddy with the dome microphone setup just gets absolutely torched. Like, that's what that looked like to me.
Woo. Dude, that looked like that hurt. So he tore his patella tendon, the head coach of the Timberwolves. Tore his patella tendon on the sideline last night. Quite literally they had to physically help him to the locker room. Could not walk off on his own.
Yeah.
I don't know how you come back and coach the rest of the playoffs.
Oh, he'll
with
find
a torn patella tendon.
He'll find a way.
I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I think what's interesting is like we don't, head coaches and coaches in general, non-players in general typically aren't in that position. But you can't tell me that Chris Finch isn't sitting here saying, man, like, dude, if Anthony Edwards is going to play this good, like, we got a legitimate shot to at least make a finals appearance. Like, I don't like, even if you compare the Wolves to OKC, or you compare them to the Nuggets, or whoever you want to compare them to.
Yeah, let's not get carried away. I mean, you really think that they can go to the finals?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Anthony Edwards is the best player right now in the West. Who's going to stop him on the Nuggets? Help me understand who's going to stop him on the Nuggets. Who's going to stop him on OKC?
The issue's not Anthony Edwards. The issue is not Anthony Edwards. The issue is that I think you have some very questionable depth there. Karl Anthony Towns, in my opinion, is a good, not a great player. I think you look at the rest of that team, and you look at their major contributors. Mike Conley last night looked tired. Mike Conley looked like the 61-year-old elderly man that he is. Right? At times in this series, he has been dominant.
Right.
But the Suns don't defend at all. You're looking at Oklahoma City, who I think is one of the most well-rounded teams in the NBA. They defend, they offend, and they play fast. I look at their where does Rudy Gobert end up in a Clippers series? Where does Rudy Gobert end up in a Thunder series? I in a Denver series. How does Rudy Gobert stay on the floor in a Denver series? He has proven that he cannot play with Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
He's proven that repeatedly. Like, I think the biggest question is, can you count on Karl Anthony Towns to defend at a high enough level to go against an OKC, to go against a Denver, to go against the Clippers? Because the Clippers, whether you want to talk about it or not, James Harden is balling his ass off for them right now. And did anybody notice what they did to Luka Doncic? The Clippers in this series, there's a trend where they're making Kyrie Irving win games and they're not winning games. The Clippers are isolating Luka Doncic, making his life difficult and forcing Kyrie Irving to win them games, which he's not doing.
Right.
Putting up great numbers, not winning them games. And I think there is not a real good matchup for this Timberwolves team after this series. Because I don't know. We can project forward, and my biggest question about this team is, can you count on a Jaden McDaniels? Can you count on a guy like I don't know, who's their best player off the bench? Like a slow-mo, Kyle Anderson. I don't think their depth works against the better teams in the West. Anthony Edwards, phenomenal player. Karl Anthony Towns is their number 2. My question is, what happens after that? Because your best player is always going to get his. Devin Booker scores 49 last night. Best game of the series. They lose, and it wasn't close. Wasn't close.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Lakers. When Anthony Davis and LeBron James perform at the top of their game, they're going to win games because they have more depth. They have a guy like Austin Reeves, right? But if Austin Reeves doesn't come through, the Lakers lose. So I'm asking you, who's Minnesota's Austin Reeves? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I think certainly, you've got Naz Reid, who typically is going to give you pretty good production off the bench. You've got, Jaden McDaniels is an interesting case because he's your defensive stalwart, right? I mean, he multiple times in the Sun series gave Kevin Durant and Devin Booker fits. I mean, I would agree with that. He's a really good defender. He's got length. He knows how to position his body. Like he's everything you would want in a lockdown guy. So I think from that standpoint for the Wolves, like they need to play defense and create transition against whoever they play next. Like
Denver.
I mean, if you're going to run, like, again, look at the Lakers with Denver. When the Lakers are out running against Denver doesn't stop anybody in transition. You're not gonna stop whoever it is running full speed down the floor. And I think we saw that against the Suns.
But what happens in the playoffs? The playoffs become a half-court game.
Okay, but we haven't seen that as much in the Lakers Nuggets series. They have been running a lot. Like,
I think we have seen that. Like, we were watching the game the other night at the Aria Sportsbook, and what were the Lakers doing? The Lakers were running screen roll with Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis with LeBron on the backside of it. And you look at how effective Anthony Davis is right now. That's why they won that game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at Denver's best is their half-court offense. Jamal Murray, I think, is critically important to that team. I'm not worried about Anthony Edwards. I'm not worried about Nikola Jokic. I'm worried about who on Minnesota is going to stop Jamal Murray. Okay, well, then you stop Jamal Murray. Who's going to prevent Michael Porter Jr. from hitting those kick in the balls 3-point shots that he is infamous for now? And I just look at the way that they are, like Gordon right now is playing pretty damn good complementary basketball. You look at the multitude of guards Denver runs out. I just don't see how you go man for man Denver versus Minnesota and pick Minnesota in that series. I'd have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I could do it is because I don't look at it just on, like, yeah, if you go roster versus roster, you just compare them on paper. Like, yeah, obviously the Nuggets have a better roster. There's no doubt about that. I mean, their bench is why they've been prolific. But I also look at Denver and I say, Are we not going to account for the fact that they've been playing a ton of basketball, that they've been in deep playoff run after deep playoff run the last several seasons? You're telling me that's not going to catch up to you against the young legs that the Timberwolves have? You telling me that when you get to, let's say game 3, that you're not going to start to feel fatigue against a team that I can guarantee you, like, I'm not saying the whole series is going to be decided in transition, but I guarantee you part of the strategy is going to be, hey, like, let's outlet, let's get down the floor. There are so many times, like, I don't disagree with what you're saying about the Lakers strategy against the Nuggets, but how many times were we sitting there and LeBron would leak out, or Reeves would leak out, or somebody would leak out to get those easy
I
ones?
think that's going to happen, but these games are won and lost in the half court. And I look at the 7 guys that Denver runs, and I think it's superior to Minnesota. I think it is. Cantavius Caldwell-Pope is not scared of any shot. That guy's won multiple championships playing 40 minutes for them. I think the Jamal Murray, Jokic, Porter, Gordon, Watson, Christian Braun, I think that 7 is better than anything that Minnesota can run. And I think that, again, we've heard all this stuff about Rudy Gobert being an offensive threat now.
Well, he changed that narrative last night. There were several times where he bricked.
But that's my point. I don't think that you can trust the top 7 guys in Minnesota to be better than the top 7 guys in Denver. And I still maintain that Denver's still one of the best home court advantages in the NBA. And that doesn't even account for the fact that Boston's going to choke on a D and lose this series.
In classic Boston fashion.
Yeah. Anyway, now I think it'll be really interesting to see how you figure out how to match up. If you're Minnesota, who's the guy that has an extraordinary performance to complement Anthony Edwards?
Well, I mean, obviously you would look at Karl Anthony Towns. That's the guy that needs to have, you need him, 25, 30 points a night. That has to happen.
I think he's going to have, if you're going to count on Anthony Edwards for 25 points a night, I think you're going to have to get at least that much from somebody else to beat Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to have to be Karl Anthony Towns, because I do not see a big role for Rudy Gobert in that series.
And Jaden McDaniels is capable of 20 a night. I mean, he's capable of that. And there have been times where if he's shooting it well, he can pop off for 25, but it's not a reliable 25.
But Denver wears your ass out on defense. They just grind you in the half court with Jokic running the offense at the top. And Denver's that team where you'll miss a shot and it'll turn into a 3-pointer for them. And it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating when that happens. Denver is that team that is so frustratingly opportunistic. Like, they take those Michael Porter threes in this Lakers series have been backbreaking.
Yeah.
Even though, and I know he's trying to cover the lines, in the prop bets with him.
First team all Jonte.
So again, we're sitting at the Aria Sportsbook in Vegas over the weekend, and people are openly mocking him for his brother. Like, oh my, he never gets away from that.
Nope.
Never. But the West is kind of going the way we thought it was. One real quick note. Anybody see what happened in Dallas last night?
Oh, Jerry.
Zeke is back. Coming off of what is inarguably one of the best draft classes in the NFL. People are raving about what the Cowboys did in the draft. I think I don't know if there's an offseason where any of us could be like, yeah, I mean, if the Dallas Cowboys bring back Zeke, that'll be a nice cherry on top. I think when you look at Tyler Guyton, Marshawn Nealon some people think they reach for him, but you look at Guyton and BB Nealon, Maris Leofau from Notre Dame. I mean, Carson, Nathan Thomas, Justin Rogers. in the 7th round, Justin Rogers. Dallas Cowboys had a good draft. Dallas Cowboys had a really good draft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little leery of some other teams. Like, I think the Atlanta Falcons, their draft is better than people think. I'm a little leery of what the New York Giants did. I'm a little leery of what the Patriots did with some of their decision-making. But the Dallas Cowboys actually had a rock-solid draft.
Oh.
Are they the Washington Commanders? No, the Washington Commanders may have had the best draft. Are they the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think shored up their defense and got maybe the 2 best defensive backs in the draft? I mean, you look at what the Eagles did with Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I think that tandem, those are how do you miss with those 2 guys?
You don't.
Right? How do you miss with how do you miss with Will Shipley from Clemson, which was a need for them for sure. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had to have him, and they got him, right? I mean, you look at what the Eagles did. But, man, how do you argue that the Dallas Cowboys didn't just hit a home run? How do you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Absolutely. That agree.
And then you bring back Zeke. Who do you think had the best draft? I think the Bears have to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I think certainly. I mean, it's hard to. So again, this is like the MVP conversation, right? How are we defining best? I think when you in the draft to define best, it's like who had the most impactful draft, who based on their position improved, the most. And yeah, I mean, I think obviously with the Bears picking up quarterback and wide receiver. And with some of the other additions, yeah, I mean, they're obviously a better team. I think that yeah, the thing with Zeke and the Cowboys, the only question is Zeke, 50% of what he used to be? Is he just going to be a third down guy?
I thought he was really good in New England last year.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so if Zeke can be somebody who is because I don't believe, and I don't think most people believe Zeke is like a 3-down back anymore. I think he's a rotational guy that
goal line,
passing
situations. If you're trying to score a touchdown late, he's a better blocker than what you've had.
Yeah, he's a physical guy. So, I think the Cowboys did well. I think they were smart to go out and get BB and shore up the offensive line and put Dak in a better position. I think that we don't know what the Commanders draft is going to be until we see what Jaden is capable of. I mean, I'm not saying they had a poor draft. I'm just saying a great draft is defined by just how far a guy like Jaden can take it. And if he's hurt in 3 weeks into the season, then it was just
he will define that. But everybody that took a quarterback, I mean, I think compare
the Commanders to the Bears, right? Like if Caleb Williams goes out and gets hurt, let's say the Bears to me still had a solid draft because nobody's expecting them to be like, really good or whatever, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, well, hey, I would agree with that. Their win total over under, I think was 8.5, the day after the first round. And so like, that's fine. Like for the Commanders though, you have new ownership. You're spending a ton of money. Like there is some semblance of expectation that you will improve by a couple of wins at least. So that's why I say like, it's so situational, but yeah, I think the Cowboys had a great draft. The Giants situation, I don't know. I'm not a huge Daniel Jones guy. I'm not sitting here being like, man, dude, like you guys stuck with him and that's going to pay off because I'm not sure that it will.
I think the Dolphins with Chop Robinson and Patrick Paul, who we talked to at Big 12 Media Day, I think those are 2 really good picks. I also really like that they picked up Malik Washington from Virginia, who you don't even know who that is. He's a wide receiver. I think is going to be a really good player. I look at the Giants with Neighbors, Newman and Phillips right out of the gate. I like Malik Neighbors a lot. I don't know about the rest of what they did. I truly do not. It hurts my head to think about.
I like what the Niners did. I think a lot of people were criticizing what they did, but I think it makes a lot of sense, dude. The guys they picked up, like you look at that offense, you look at what do they tend to do? What is Kyle Shanahan known for? I'm gonna take average ass dude over here who's like an 80th round pick and turn him into a producer.
Look at what Denver did. I hate what Denver did. I mean, obviously, I am not a Bo Nix NFL quarterback guy in any way, shape, or form. But I also think that you reached a point where I think you outthought yourself. You had the first pick was the 12th overall, I think is Bo Nix. And you took a reach at quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Then you had to wait till the third round, the 76th pick to get Joan Ellis from Utah, who I think is going to be a stud. Troy Franklin fell to 102nd. But after that, I don't really understand much of what they did. I hate that draft. I hate what the Vikings did. I mean, again, I'm not a free Harbaugh guy. I do not believe he's a franchise quarterback. I think that's a mistake. But I like Dallas Turner. But then you had to wait until the 4th at 108th. And you took a guy that I think there were a lot better players than Jackson, the corner from Oregon, available to you. I think they probably blew their draft. I don't love the fact that the Falcons find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to eat a whole lot of booty on Kirk Cousins' contract. But I also hate that their skill positions didn't come until the 6th round when they had real need at skill positions. I understand taking Michael Penix, but in the 2nd and 3rd round, you should have taken skill position.
Yeah.
Which I didn't love that at all. Like you didn't take a wide receiver until 187. So anyway, we'll see. Steve Stepanek, Kingsley Suamataia to Kansas City is a great pick from BYU. Well, it's Andy Reid. I think Kingsley's going to have to get in a little bit better shape. He's going to be a technique guy. There's no doubt about that. I don't hate what Kansas City did. Don't get me wrong. Just looking at
well, he crushed it the first round.
I would agree with that. I think Kansas City with Xavier Worthy was a really good pickup. But if you look at the rest of that division, how do you not? I really like what the Raiders did.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Brock Bowers. I really like Jackson Powers Johnson, who I think was absolutely a need. I mean, if you look at what they had, they needed corner and offensive line desperately. And they get, in my opinion, Richardson from Mississippi State is a really good pickup. I think you get Devonshire from Pitt, who's a really good pickup. So they got better there. They got better on the offensive line. Delmar Glaze from Maryland, again, a guy you don't know because he played at Maryland, and I think aren't they still in the Atlantic 10, Maryland, or are they in the Southeast? Nobody watches their games division. That's like D6. Anyway, I think Las Vegas got much better in that division. I really like what Jim Harbaugh and the San Diego but we play in LA Chargers did. Right? Avi, I really like Joe Alt. I like Ladd McConkey. Undervalued wide receiver. Did you need to reach it at the 34th pick for Ladd McConkey? You probably did. But with Mitchell and all this bullshit about his character falling, I guess I understand that. Ladd McConkey's solid, right? Junior Colson, absolutely rock solid at linebacker. I mean, I think they did some Kamani Vidal, the running back from Troy, I think is a really good pickup.
Well, and you understand the path that they're trying to take here,
yes.
Right? I mean, you see what they're doing. So you've already got a franchise quarterback. He needs some help on the O-line. You got that done. Now you got to shore up the underneath game with McConkey, and then you went out and got a running back. And you're going to have to develop that running back, but you got a running back. And you start to understand, okay, a Jim Harbaugh-led team is going to want to ground and pound and then work play action off of that. And to do that, especially in that division in this league. You're going to have to be able to throw underneath with effectiveness, not just to pick up 3 yards. So that to me is why they went out and got Ladd. And I think I'm just telling you, with the Chargers, you can see the path, you can see the direction, and understand what they're trying to do.
I think you look at the best drafts and the cherry on top of this, and I would love your comments. The Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely prioritized offensive line with Fautanu at tackle with the 20th pick, and Frazier at center with I think Zach Frazier was one of the better offensive linemen we watched this year in the Big 12. And then you go immediately to Roman Wilson, Peyton Wilson, Mason McCormick, and I actually really like Ryan Watts out of Texas. And I think at 195 to get Watts from Texas, the corner, I think we may look back on this draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers and identify it as the one where they turn the corner.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talent in that draft that very well may turn into, top 3 on a depth chart.
Well, and again, I mean, that's a defensive organization through and through. I mean, that's an organization that, believes in winning football games on the defensive side of the ball. And so the idea that they would go out and get a corner that late in the draft with the idea of developing them is not outlandish at all. And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how all these guys develop. I mean,
it's the name of the game.
I just can't believe the Bills traded out of the first round twice.
Well, and
with Worthy and Liggett sitting right there.
You didn't just trade out. You handed the Chiefs. I mean, it's aggressive to say they handed the Chiefs another Super Bowl, but you handed the Chiefs a prolific weapon.
I think, and also you look at Dakota making an interesting point. Personally, not worried about the AFC West. Arrogance. Kansas City will win another division title at a minimum. It's not this year you're worried about, but you better win it this year because next year you're not going to win the division.
Yeah, next year's going to be a lot tougher.
The rest of this division, I'm not a believer in what Denver did, as I said. The Raiders and the Chargers got significantly better this weekend. And I think, obviously, with the Chargers going through a complete makeover with Harbaugh, they have prioritized the quality and well-being of the quality of life and the well-being of Justin Herbert. And that is terrifying if you're a fan of anybody in that division other than the Chargers.
Yeah, because the problem is he can beat your defense. There's no question. I mean, he's a very capable quarterback. I mean, not just from an arm talent perspective. Like his football IQ is really good. He understands time and space. Like he understands, what you're trying to do based on, where you're at in the game. Like this is obviously someone who is extremely capable and just hasn't had the protection and the time to go through his progression. And this is what I always say to Kansas City fan. The arrogance, while annoying, is justified based on what you've done the last 5 years. So I'm not going to criticize you for being arrogant about the division because you have dominated it and probably will continue to. But I'm telling you that window is closing, not just because of the fact your roster is getting older, but because of the fact that Jim is there now and Justin Herbert knows for his career, he's got to get moving. He has to.
And what did he do? Prioritized Joe Alt at 5 and took 3 wide receivers. I think a Boygby from Alabama what is absolutely a value pick at 105. So you got better on the offensive line. You got better at the skill positions. And you drafted a linebacker in Junior Colson who's a can't miss. I think a Boygby from Alabama it could at worst be a rotational player. Like this draft in Los Angeles, and both the Chargers and the Rams, because the Rams got significantly better as well. I think Verse and Fiske, you made a statement that you needed to address Aaron Donald's absence.
Yes.
And I think they absolutely did that with I think Jared Verse, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk about it, but I think Jared Verse is one of the most undervalued, and he went 19th. And I still think he's one of the most undervalued edge rushers in this draft. In a draft that had 1,000 of them, I think Jared Verse might be the most productive edge rusher in this draft.
Well, and think about how different the defensive line play is going to be for the Rams now that Aaron Donald retired. I mean, you're legitimately talking about a guy who I saw a stat last week or whatever that he drew a double like 90% of the time or whatever it was, and like I think there was like it was like 20 or 15% of the time drew a triple. So when you're talking about a guy like that retiring, you do need to shore that up, and frankly, you need to give yourself flexibility and options to run different defensive schemes on the defensive line. Like you can't, like you literally used to be, hey, okay, Aaron Donald's covering this half of the offensive line. He's drawing their attention. So we're going to run all of our stuff off of that other side of the defensive line. So now that dynamic's gone, you're going to have to go back to a more traditional mindset and more traditional way of playing football.
Cameron Kinchins, the safety from Miami, is also a big part of that. I don't know. I think you're a little overconfident is if you believe that you're set for the next however many years in Kansas City.
I think this year they're fine, but I agree after this season, once development's taken place in Chargerland, that division's going to be highly competitive.
Highly. Joseph Harper, a member of the show for 7 months. I like what the Seahawks did in the draft, shoring up their lines. I would agree with that. Core fundamental positions. Mike Smith, a member of the show for 9 months. Cowboys got great trade value by trading down. Do you guys agree the Cowboys had a good draft? I think there's a lot of people that disagree with that. And I'd like to understand why you disagree with that. If I look at the Dallas Cowboys with Guyton and Nealand, I think those are two rock-solid picks. Marshawn Nealand from Western Michigan, I thought was a really good pick. Is Cooper Beebe? There's questions about Cooper Beebe, but is anybody arguing with Cooper Beebe inside in the NFL?
No.
I'm not.
No.
I'm certainly not. Maris Leafau is about as good a prospect as you can get. And they added bodies to replace Leighton Vander Esch with that, which I thought was great. But that you spent so much coin on the offensive and defensive line tells you that there is a renaissance in Dallas. And I think what they did, I love what the Cowboys did.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back and you look at that 1 year, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like, maybe it was 18, might have been 19.
1876?
Where they were just road grading teams with the offensive line and with Zeke. I mean, you were legitimately playing ground and pound football, and Dak was probably only 60% of the guy he is now, and you were pretty successful. Now, you didn't win a Super Bowl. You had a letdown in the playoffs. But my point is that style of football is much more reliable than what you've been trying to do with Lamb and this offensive unit. It is too volatile to play football without being able to run the ball.
Yeah, and I think, you look at Joseph asking about Seattle. I think Seattle was okay.
Yeah.
Like Byron Murphy, I don't love that he got a little nicked up with the law. Didn't he have some issue, like a speeding ticket I can't remember what happened to him the week before the draft, but don't love that, but he's a great player. I thought Christian Hayes was a massive reach in the third round. AJ Barner, I think, is going to be a fine tight end, but I think probably their best pick is Laumea from Utah inside the offensive guard. I think he's a really good player. DJ James, everybody panned DJ James, which is why I think he went in the 6th. I think Seattle did okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it was transformative, but I don't know that that's what you're saying. That was Sweat, the other DT. Okay, my bad. Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Best total offseason goes to my Texans, though, except Tank got shot. How about that last night? He's at a club in Sanford, Florida. And if memory serves, a teenager had a gun, and he got he got shot. Now, he was already released from the hospital. But can you, like, that's wild to me. And I'm just going to keep saying, nothing good happens at a club late at night.
God,
see, you get
bless
the flu.
Your soul.
Man, I'm going through it.
Yeah.
Nothing good happens at the club late at night.
And what's always fascinating to me is there's so many other things you could be doing. Like, I don't even mean just football related. I mean, like how many other things could these guys be doing? Like, whether it's trips or whatever it is. Like, I just at some point would expect dudes to start to understand that the club is just not a good place to be.
No.
Like, you're asking for trouble legitimately.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why guys can't grasp that. But the Texans had a good draft. You look at the work that they did last season. I think they're clearly, and none of us, I think, would argue with that. I think they're clearly one of the great stories, winning 10 games in the South. And
yeah,
I think Kamari Lassiter was absolutely the right pick in the right space and time. I hear a lot of people talking about Cade Stover, the tight end from Ohio, or excuse me, I like that pick. I think Solomon Byrd from USC is going to be a really solid pro. I don't know how you don't like anything that they did. I mean, they got better. Again, I'm a big believer that, like Blake Fisher, the tackle from Notre Dame, you do everything you can do to solidify the trenches. They did that. I think they did everything they needed to do to help themselves in their positions of weakness. I really like what the Texans have done.
Yeah.
They're making good, solid football decisions, not reaching. It's very interesting. It is very interesting to me that the Texans, and this is what I said about the Bears are finally making decisions based on what's best on the field. They're making decisions based on, hey, we know that we're drafting Caleb Williams and Jim Rome-Odunze, right? We know that we're doing that. Let's get better on the offensive line. Let's get better on the defensive line. Let's make, pragmatic decisions. If we're going to draft a quarterback and a young receiver, let's get let's make decisions. Bring in Keenan, keep DJ Moore here, extend Montez Sweat after we trade for him.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you argue with what they did. And I think that's what the Texans continue to do. What the Bears now are learning that you have to do. Why the Philadelphia Eagles had one of the best drafts. Why the Commanders had one of the best drafts. Because they made solid football decisions. Solid football decisions. So, thankfully, I hate what the Packers did. Fuck the Packers. All day, every day, twice a day. I love the fact that the Packers, I think, made some really stupid decisions. I think that Edgerrin Cooper was a mistake. I think that Tyron Hopper from Missouri was a mistake at that point in the draft. It's not a third-round pick. It's not a third-round pick. Sorry, dudes. I get it. You're all pissed off. He's not a third-round pick. Now, Javon Bullard, I think that kid's a home run. I think that's a really good pickup for them. But every other pick that they made, I mean, Michael Pratt probably would not have gotten drafted. And if he did, you could have signed another. Why Michael Pratt?
You're reaching too much.
Why Michael Pratt there? Didn't need it. Kalen King, very interesting pick. Their last pick in the 7th round. I don't love what they did. I think if I was grading their draft, I'd give them a C+.
Yeah.
I don't love what the Packers did. But that's just me.
And by the way, screw the Packers.
I agree. Brandon Butler, I don't give a piss about nothing but the Bears.
I mean, it's true, dude. I mean, screw them, right? Like, come on.
I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby.
I don't know if, and I'm trying not to talk about it too much.
No, you don't want to jinx it.
You had, 5 picks in this draft? I think Jim Roma Dunze is going to be a really solid wide receiver. Caleb Williams, I think, is going to be a franchise quarterback. Torrey Taylor, the punter from Iowa, okay. But I think Austin Booker in the 5th round, that might be the home run of this draft for the Bears. Because I think, granted, didn't somebody call me a Big 12 homer last week?
Yeah, well, you're a dying Mormon who's a BYU fan, and you're apparently a Big 12 homer now. Yeah.
All I'm saying, motherfucker, is that when you get Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, and you plug in Jim Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams in his fingernail paint, and you go with what I think, and we'll see exactly. We'll see what happens with Nate Davis, and we'll see where this offensive line matriculates to.
Yeah.
But right now, you have arguably one of the top young tight ends in the NFL in Cole Kmet. You have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the NFC. And I think your defense, I'm re-signing Jalen Johnson, spending the bread on Jalen Johnson. Kevin Byard, I don't know. I don't know yet. Let's figure it out. But Jack Sanborn's a stud. Tremaine Edwards, TJ Edwards, like Montez Sweat, as I talked about, you traded for a guy, you extended him. You invested in Jalen Johnson, and then you paid him. The Bears are making pragmatic football decisions. So we'll see. YouTube user, Salty Virginia Peanuts. If Maris Leafau hits, he will be an absolute steal. And I don't know how he doesn't hit. The guy is just a freak of genetics. He is. Scott of Greywater Watch. Best offseason goes to my Texans, except Tank getting shot. Read that one already. Mike Smith. Read that one already. I would like to apologize. OG Gary, late at night, how are you not asleep? I'm just asking. I understand. Guys are attracted to tits and money.
Yeah.
That's why they go to strip clubs. If you're an NFL player, what are you doing in a strip club? Should you be in a strip club as an NFL player?
No.
As an NBA player, as a professional athlete with millions of dollars on the line? Because what are you at a strip club?
Just a guy.
No, you're a target at a strip club. And why? Stop texting me during the show, Marvo.
Monty, I need to give you my opinion, but I don't want to comment on YouTube, you know?
Stop texting me during the show. I am telling you now that if you're a young buck in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and you're at the strip club, you're not just a guy, you're a target, in my opinion. And if you're out at a club and it's a private event and there's a shooting and it's the middle of the night, is that your fault? It is. It is, because you shouldn't have been there that late.
Yeah.
But hey, is what it is, right? Dakota Tubbs, all I have to say is those other organizations have to prove it. There's a reason why the Chiefs have won nobody's questioning the greatness of the Chiefs, or nobody's questioning that. Like,
let's wait some before we crown Harbaugh. Nobody's crowning him. What we're saying is that you've had a cakewalk in the division for 5 years.
You have been uncontested in the NFC West for how long?
Like, you've been playing 4-win teams in your division for how long? And yeah, I'm not saying that somehow devalues what you've done. Winning a Super Bowl, in multiple Super Bowls is an outstanding achievement. I mean, again, the Chiefs are the class of the league.
Let's wait some before we crown Harbaugh.
But you can't seriously be denying the concept of, hey, the Chargers are getting better and they have a threat at quarterback, a guy that can absolutely outthrow any defense, can absolutely put it right where he needs to put it to beat your guy and get the first down when he needs it.
You're talking about a Charger team that has a head coach who you can say a lot of things about. Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, Jimbo.
One thing is undeniable. He wins for a short stretch, and then he pisses everybody off, but he wins. And having covered him in Sam Frog's Disco, I can tell you straight away, he is going to have a better defensive line and an offensive line than you are. He is going to have a very well-coached and well-developed quarterback. And you have a generational talent at quarterback in Kansas City, but so do the LA Chargers. Now, you, in my opinion, you're going to have to really find a way to develop and build a stable of wide receivers. And you're going to have to figure out who are the 8 guys at the skill positions on offense, running back, wide receiver, tight ends you can count on. Jim Harbaugh is pretty good at doing that.
Yeah.
And I think their defense is already stocked with a ton of talent. And he's bringing in a really good defensive coordinator. I think it's going to – the rise of the Chargers, they will be very competitive this season. Next season, I would expect the Chargers to win that division. And if they don't, it'll be very close. I'd be shocked if they didn't win the division next season. Not this coming season, but the year after that.
Right.
A year from now.
Right.
I will be surprised if they are not the odds-on favorite to win the West. I think because that's what he's done everywhere he's gone.
And I also think that the Chiefs have not had to play like a real like punch you in the face football team. Like that's not really the culture in the league right now. The culture in the league is much more like, hey, we're going to pass, and it's a passing league, and it's a little bit less physical. And I'm telling you, Jim sees that, and I can't believe I find myself advocating for Jim here, but like I just think that that's what Jim's style has always been. We're going to be committed to running the football. We're going to wear your ass out in the first half, and then we'll get the passing game going in the second half. And when you're tired from us leaning on you for, however long, 15, 20 minutes or whatever, like then you're going to be in real trouble. And Patty Mahomes running around constantly, that act is going to wear off at some point. He's not going to be able to do that forever. And that's why I say enjoy it this season, but next season you're going to be in trouble. I really believe that. And
I also think you look at the rest of the division. The Raiders are not going to compete now. I mean,
no.
Everybody seems to be on Viagra over Aiden O'Connell, which is great.
On Viagra.
Hey, man, get your swell on, dude. But I don't love the rest of that roster. I don't love their defense, even though I think their defense made big strides last year. I also don't love Denver. Denver is right now a decade away. Like, if you just look at Bo's Knicks,
dude, come on.
I don't love that roster.
Bo Nix is playing well.
No, he's not. And now, I mean, I know that you have Zach Wilson, lock up your wives, but I mean, and I know that you have Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, come on, Stidham.
And don't forget Ben DiNucci.
Hey, Ben.
Fucking guy.
DiNucci.
All due respect.
Bo Nix is your starting quarterback, which should make you say, uh-oh.
Okay, who has a better first season? Free Harbaugh or Bo Nix?
I think probably Free Harbaugh, because the MILF hunter is going to be banging everybody's mom. I'm a child. I don't love Denver. I don't love the Raiders right now. But I don't see any way that you can look at the Chargers and be like, oh, okay. You keep doing that, Chiefs fan. By the way, enjoy that jaunt over the line there to the other Kansas City to build your new stadium. Yes, Chris Karn, FGB. Thank you. Good to see you. Tanner Plummer, Edgerrin Cooper was a mistake. I disagree. He's one of the best linebackers in the draft. Okay, time will tell. I didn't say a mistake. I think he's a reach in any way you. I don't know that any. I think, and you want to talk about your Philadelphia Eagles. I think their draft was interesting. Is Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean the best two corners in the draft? Combination drafted. I think they are. I think that I love Will Shipley. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a legacy pick.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what the Eagles did. They're top 3 if they're not number 1 in the draft. They're top 3. There's no doubt.
Agreed.
I mean, that combination right there, that's transformative. That defense is better today. YouTube user, Monty, Caleb Williams is the Bears home run or they don't have a home run. Well, he better be. You better be, but this is the Timberwolves conversation. Anthony Edwards is going to have a huge game. But who else is going to step up? Caleb Williams has to be a home run. If Caleb Williams is a bust, this draft is a waste.
Yeah.
Because Jim Roma-Dunze, I think he's going to be a good number 3 receiver. I think he will be. He'll have every chance to become a number 1. Will he? I don't know. But if he busts out, is this draft a waste? No, because Caleb Williams is a franchise quarterback. If Caleb Williams busts out and Jim Roma-Dunze is a franchise wide receiver, did this draft fail? Yes, it did.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with that, too. How is Jim Roma-Dunze going to become a franchise wide receiver if no one's feeding him?
Caleb Williams that's without saying. It's without saying. There's just no other way to go about it. Stepanik, LOL, Monty isn't Mormon. LOL, he wouldn't like Notre Dame if he was. I still think it's one of the great wackadoo comment section.
Well, Monty, do you even watch Washington games?
Monty, you're fat, you're old, you're a Mormon, and you're going to die soon.
Notre Dame, our mother.
And I'm pretty sure he made a magic underpants joke about me as well.
Well,
which is like, okay, tell me who you are without telling me who you are.
Yeah.
Aaron Wilson, who's been a member of the show for 13 months.
Okay, Aaron.
Let's go, Aaron. Happy Monday. Great show today. Good to see you, my friend. Tanner Plummer, Kevin Byard was bad mid for Philly, but I think he'll be good for the Bears. Well, Yeah, I mean, it's not everybody who can go into Philly and get a standing ovation. I mean, who does Kevin Byard think he is? Jalen Brunson?
Kevin Byard was, quote, bad mid for the Eagles, but he'll be fine for the Bears. Okay.
Kevin Byard wasn't the problem. Caleb Aylmore, how about those Commanders?
Again, there's only one question that needs to be answered, dude. Is Buddy here for it or not? Can Jaden do the job?
All I'm saying is, if I look at the Washington Commanders, I honestly, you guys, I didn't know that, and I'm not sure that I'm comfortable saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Commanders, obviously with new owners, new management,
all that new bread.
This is not Daniel Snyder sex trafficking his cheerleaders, Washington Commanders.
Right.
And Jerson Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois that nobody knows who he is. Really good player. I look at Ben Sinnott from K-State. Is he an NFL player? I don't know, but I love the pick. Dominic Hampton from Washington's a very solid back end of the defense guy, special teams player. I think he'll be very good. Sain Ristrell is a very interesting pick. If he hits, this draft will be one of the best in the history of the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
If Sain Ristrell hits, because I think like Luke McCaffrey from Rice, not a leverage player. If he hits, you're cooking with gas.
Yeah.
If Mike Sain Ristrell hits at 18, second round 18th pick, dude, your defense is much, much better.
Yep.
But I think you had no other choice but Jade McDaniels. There just wasn't a conversation there. And Jerson Newton from Illinois. And again, Javonte Jean-Baptiste is somebody I know well as a Notre Dame fan. I think you have a lot of guys who can contribute outside of special teams in this draft. And that's not something we've been able to say about the Washington Commanders in some time.
Yeah, and I think they're heading in the right direction. But again, he's going to have to perform, and I think that's that need, that necessity, obviously is more for teams who are bad right now. You need your draft picks come through.
And I think one other thing, Brett McMurphy just tweeted draft picks from teams that finished the season unranked. And yes, I'm going back to Lincoln Riley and USC because my asshole brother and I had a massive fight about USC one year. And what do I always say about USC? They're always going to be one of the top teams in the country. Finished unranked, had one of the most disappointing years in probably the last decade at USC.
Right.
They put 7 guys in the NFL draft. That's the most of any team that's unranked. They put 7 guys in the draft. I'll just keep saying it. USC always has talent.
Yeah. And they're good at developing it too.
Always. Anybody notice Utah 5 and Illinois 4 as well? Pretty good. Pretty good. And I'll just go to my grave saying it. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to love it. But for all you Oak State fans, how many Oklahoma State players got drafted? How many SMU players got drafted? Same number as Liberty players that got drafted. How about not a single one?
Yeah, wait, I thought SMU was the pipeline to Texas, right? Like I thought that's where all the fellas went to play.
But Mike Gundy just puts guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I will just keep telling you this. That guy's overrated.
I'm a man.
That program is overrated. With all due respect, James, you didn't put a single guy in the NFL draft. So when we talk about the importance of Oklahoma leaving and Texas leaving, I think the water boy at Texas got drafted. And I'm pretty certain that the guy, who puts the little stickers on the helmets,
your equipment manager,
got drafted. I will continue to sound the alarm bells at Oklahoma State. 0 guys in the draft.
But Monty, Brandon Whedon, come on.
0 guys in the draft. Not one.
Not 1 or 2 or 7, 0.
Oklahoma had 3 in one of their, and they're in a down. Like I think we all agree.
Yeah, nobody denies it.
I think Texas had 116 players drafted. Oklahoma is in the valley. They had 3. If Oklahoma's in the valley, where's Oklahoma State?
Mm-hmm.
Asking for a friend. Do you understand that Kansas State had more players drafted than Oklahoma State? Yet I don't know what I'm talking about with Oklahoma State. I know. I'm just a little old Monty who hates Ollie Gordon.
Yep.
Speaking of Oak State, James, pro athletes are targets at strip clubs. Dancers see dollar signs, or if they are delusional, a future husband. Zion Williamson. Not a bad point. Big Blue Horses. The WFT had a good draft. No crazy trades, no crazy reaches. They had a plan. Refreshing change from the Snyder era. I would agree. I thought the Bears had a good draft. I thought the Bears had a good draft too.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
A hundo P. Totally agree. Chiefs and Cowboys both beefed up their offensive lines. Great move on their part. I agree. Saints get Pitt wide receiver Bub Means. He might be a better pro due to the inconsistent quarterback play at Pitt, but Neil Brown needs fired. Again, I go back to not this Vegas trip, the previous Vegas trip.
Yeah.
We were standing outside of the Marriott Grand Chateau. A couple of folks rolled up wearing West Virginia gear. And so I said to the lady, what do you think of Neil Brown? Don't get fucking started on that.
We need to fire him right now. He's terrible.
We're just having a nice conversation. Seriously, we're having a nice conversation. Asked him about Neil Brown, and she almost lost her mind. That lady, I mean,
red in the face, pissed off.
And you to think I started talking about cleaning coal or something. No, I was talking about Neil Brown, boy. Hey, boy.
Neil Brown.
Hey, boy. James, Oak State has 21 of 24 remaining starters.
Oh, so you're agreeing with us.
Keep smoking that Mike Gundy reefer.
Who are they going to lose to in the championship game this year?
What's going to be and my question is, because we have a lot of Oklahoma State fans that bitch and whine every time I bring up the mullet. What's your excuse going to be if you don't win the conference this year? You have a legit Heisman contender in Ollie Gordon, one of the best running backs in college football.
Mm-hmm.
You have 21 of 24.
And Monty, we got the whole roster coming back. Man.
I mean, you're Cialicing over your quarterback.
Well, and Monty, the hot dog stands are really going to get an improvement this offseason. So we really should win more ball games.
Mike Gundy's a Hall of Famer. Mike Gundy. What's your excuse going to be when you don't? Because you're not going to. When you don't win the Big 12 championship game. No, go ahead. I'm waiting. There's no, at some point you're going to have to come to the microphone and announce your apology about Mike Gundy.
No, my bad, Monty. My bad. You guys were right.
Just saying. I'm just saying. Tanner Plumer. BYU had more players drafted than Oak State. Caleb Elmore. That hurt, Monty, but yeah, Gundy needs to put up or shut up. It's now or never.
Yeah.
It's now or never. It's now or never.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. There. Listen. Anyway, I'm not trying to hurt no people's feelings.
Hey, dude, if you're not going to win it this year, when are you going to win it? Like, if you're not going to win the conference this year in a down year, when are you going to win it? Seriously, at what point are you going to contend for the conference and go out and get the job done?
And we continue to sit here, and I'll be the Pac-12 homer. Who had more players drafted, the Big Ten or the Pac-12?
Well, Monty, it's the Big Ten. It must.
It's the Pac-12. Big 12 had, let me put this into perspective, and here's why you sound alarm bells. The SEC had 59 players drafted. The Big 12 had 31 players drafted. Who's getting the talent?
Yeah.
The SEC is getting the talent. Oh, the Big Ten, Monty. Look at all. Oh my God. I am blood flowing. You are 17 players behind the SEC, and that's if you're in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten is this. The Big Ten is this. Oh my God. We're so good.
Do you even watch Big Ten football?
You got out-drafted by the Pac-12. Oh, the Pac-12, man. Monty, them goddamn liberals out there in San Francisco, they're taking a crap on the sidewalk. Them liberals, and look at their liberal policies and those California fucking weirdos. Oh, is that the same? Those are the people that got more people drafted than you in the Big Ten, right? Oh, but Jimmy won us a championship, boy. How did that work out in the draft?
You're so fucked.
You got out-drafted by the Pac-12. Oh, the Pac-12 sucks, Monty. So the flyover conference, known as the Big 12, 31 draft picks. The Pac-12 had 43. And I'm not sitting here advocating that the Pac-12 is, but let's get something right. The Pac-12 was a better football conference than the Big Ten.
And no, the TV deal situation had nothing to do with the talent on the field. Haters.
Fucking pricks. Michigan 13, Texas 11, Bama 10, Florida State 10, Washington 10, Oregon 8, Georgia 8, Penn State 8, Notre Dame 7. I said Notre Dame 7.
Yeah.
USC 7, Missouri 6, LSU 6, Dabo, who can't win anything, 6, Utah 5, Auburn 5. Hey, Oak State, Troy had 2 players drafted.
What's up, big bro?
Purdue had 2 players drafted. Your mom got drafted.
Zach Edey wasn't one of them.
South Dakota State had 2 players drafted. Just telling you. If you are an Oak State fan and you are not worried about Mike Gundy,
Drinking that Kool-Aid.
send some of that stuff over here, man, because I need it. I need it. Dylan Edwards to K-State will help the Wildcats win the Big 12. That certainly does help. The Big 12 got out-drafted by the soon-to-be-dead Pac-12. But again, see, it's this kind of comment that makes me crazy. All you're doing with that kind of comment is degrading the Pac-12. The Pac-12 was the second best football conference in the country.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't, Monty. George Kleov's cock. Say what you want about the commissioner. On the football field, that's the second best conference in the country.
Yep.
And now, because it melted down, the Big 12 is better for it. And now the Big 10 is really better for it because I think those 4 schools are elite.
Yeah.
James, I don't come to chat to have my feelings get hurt. Who hurt your feelings? I will admit Gundy needs to step it up and win the conference. Oak State now has the tools. Time to get it done. Well, it's not personal, James.
Yeah.
I mean, your taste in convenience store barbecue sandwiches, that's personal.
Did he change his name?
James, stadium guy and loves barbecue.
On brand. See? By the way, when do we get a new video?
New video.
Yeah, when's the next release, bro?
Yeah, when are you going to do a YouTube video breaking down the Buc-ee's barbecue sandwich?
Yeah. Like, legit, I need one.
Because I got to tell you, after eating at some convenience stores this weekend, I need one too. Do you know how much it sucks to go into a Maverick and them not have a sausage and egg bundle for breakfast? So I didn't get breakfast yesterday. Certain peasants that you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
Those peasants are willing to eat their biscuit, whatever.
Here I am.
Jimmy's turd pile sandwich.
Yeah.
I am not.
Or a burrito, maybe.
I am
or,
not.
You
No.
know, I mean, there's
No.
options.
No, I'm not. Bruh, Dakota Tubbs, Mizzou lost so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. I'm worried we're going to be relying too much on the offense next year. You're Mizzou. You had your year. Good luck. Did I mention that Texas joined the conference? I think I might have. Bryce. Texas Tech has no excuse to not at least be contenders next year. Texas Tech? Texas Tech. Let me fix my hair before You think Mike Gundy's a problem?
Joey.
If you are not a college football playoff team next year, you should fire Joey McGuire. Your running back, your all-world running back, who I think is actually the best running back in the Big 12, came back. Baron Morton, his balls dropped, so now he's actually a man. You know, like Tyler Slapdick or Shuck, however you pronounce it. However, he's gone now. Baron Morton, named after another prominent kid named Baron. He's not. It's not even close.
Nice name, dude.
Anyway, you have no excuses. Stop calling zero blitzes in the red zone in Laramie.
Idiots.
Like,
why would you do that, dude? Like, how does that make any sense?
ACC had 41 drafted. Okay. And
Yeah, what does it have to do with anything?
I'm confused. If you could help out and let me know what that means. Lee Jensen, hello. Oak State James. Video on medium-sized stadiums posted yesterday. Okay.
But James, the Buc-ee's barbecue sandwich, bro. Like I need you like breaking it down. You know, do a little video in your car or something, eating that sandwich. Like, we need a breakdown.
I need to understand why Buc-ee's barbecue sandwiches are so mid.
Fat.
I need, and you're the guy that we count on.
Yeah, dude. Not the one we deserve.
The one we have.
Yeah.
Come on, Harvey Dent. Bryce Martin, very true. Big 12 is a lot better before Utah and Arizona. Now you add them, you mean?
Yeah, does Arizona still play football?
If anyone gets their feelings hurt in here, you might as well log out. Oh, God. That mullet.
Oh, my God, Mike, please.
I combed out all the lice and ticks from that mullet, and that son of a bitch.
He still doesn't want to play Oklahoma.
He still hasn't talked about Bedlam. He was so busy being focused on putting up a 0 in the draft. Give me my Buc-ee sandwich, boy.
Please. Mike, don't talk about Oklahoma Gundy.
Bedlam? What's Bedlam? It's illegal. Mike Gundy.
I don't break the rules
It's illegal.
because it's illegal.
It's illegal. I'm sure it's not. See me on the big screen. Big Ten Network was at Oregon spring game, gave out all kinds of swag. Okay.
Wow.
You are
Sick,
so
dude.
lucky he didn't go to Alabama. That Oregon's got a ball coach. I'm a huge fan of Lanning. What a red ass that guy is. If Mike Gundy's the mullet, what do we?
Oh, we're playing for wins. They're playing for clicks, man.
Yeah, we're not over here clickbaiting people.
Fucking A.
Who are we, the Monty Show? No.
Yeah, we're gonna clickbait him pre-snap. All right, come on.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Speaking of clickbait, is SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey a villain? Or Sankey? Sorry, sometimes it just mispronounces me. Is Greg Sankey a villain? He did a whole thing with Ross Dellinger where he refused to talk about the college football playoff again. And he's talking about how the college football playoff expansion Super League, that's not for me. But ask him about all the new money coming into college football, and all of a sudden, oh my God, the game is great. We're healthy. Everything's going well.
That's right.
But he doesn't want to talk about the college football Super League. And he doesn't much want to talk about the college football playoff and the fact that he completely and totally hijacked it. And it made me wonder, based on the comment section, based on all the college football fans, based on the public sentiment, is Greg Sankey truly a villain? Because whether you like it or not, Greg Sankey is a guy who makes money. That is a guy who makes the SEC money. He has undoubtedly raised their financial viability. And I think Greg Sankey is actually good for college football. I do not believe he is a villain. Now, is Greg Sankey, and maybe let's just keep talking in Dark Knight East. Is he the hero that you wanted? He's not. But isn't Greg Sankey the hero that college football needed? Because Greg Sankey forced change in a time when not many people wanted change. And you can call him a heel. You can call him a villain. You can call, as some do, you can call Greg Sankey the devil. But Jake, I think Greg Sankey is much more of a hero than he is a devil.
I think what's difficult with Greg Sankey is the way he walks this very fine line of, greed versus trying to do something for college football. And what I mean is, like, Greg Sankey will be like, yeah, I'm not talking about a potential super league. I'm not doing that. But man, wow. Something's going right with college football because we're getting paid a lot of money. So it's like, hey, we're making a lot of money, but no, I'm definitely not talking about changing the format that makes me a lot of money, because if we change that format, that's going to, potentially, lower the amount of money we make and make, the G5 more money and all that nonsense. So is he a villain? Villain's probably strong. Is he definitely a schemer, though? Absolutely, 100% positively, without a doubt, a schemer. No doubt about it. Always trying to make as much money as possible. Always trying to put his conference in the absolute best position possible, no matter who that affects, who that undercuts, whether that, cuts the knees out of the G5 or whatever the side effect is, he's going to do what he has to do. And in some ways, I do respect that. But in other ways, I feel like he has a responsibility to sort of shepherd the game forward when it comes to the business side of college football and making sure that it does stay healthy long term. Because if we get into a place where the gap just continues to widen between the haves and the have-nots.
And it is.
If we continue to get into a situation where that gap continues to grow, that's not good for the game. And I'm not saying the G5 should make as much money as the P4. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you have to find a system that is universally accepted. That the G5 and frankly, the Big 12 and the ACC are cool with, because we know that Brett Yormark just came out and said, 3 weeks ago, that hey, yeah, we really need to make sure that we do well in basketball, because we know that we're not the best conference in football right now,
right,
in terms of wins and money, revenue generation. So we know we have to do well in basketball. So if Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, is already in that mindset, that tells me everything I need to know. This is not someone who's like, yeah, Greg is going to go out and, try to create a great system for everyone. Yeah, he doesn't feel that way. He feels like, hey, the SEC and the Big 10 are going to do what's best for them, and we got to figure out how to survive. And for that reason, I say, hey, maybe villain's strong, but Greg Sankey is definitely a schemer. He is out for himself. And that's just what it is.
I think you have to find a way to understand what Greg Sankey's doing is what's best for his constituents. And I just don't understand why that is a problem. And I think the bigger issue is that Brett Yormark would have done the exact same thing had he been in Greg Sankey's position.
Agreed.
Tony Petitti did the exact same thing. If the Pac-12 had done so, they would be alive today. They wouldn't be dead. If Phillips hadn't signed a 55-year grant of rights, you'd be in a much more
not once, but
twice stable place than you are now. Greg Sankey's doing what you wish your commissioner would have done. Now, we've also talked about on this show ad nauseum the fact that I believe that the NCAA college basketball tournament is going to be expanded. Who's one of the leading voices in that? Greg Sankey. And you don't have to like it, but he's coming for the Big 12. He's coming for their revenue stream, because I think most people understand that the Big 12 is driving revenue through basketball. Do you think it's accidental that they're having a renaissance in Dallas at the SEC? Do you think that's an accident? No, that is a tactic. Do you think it's accidental that the Big 12 went to Las Vegas for the next 2 years? That's not accidental.
Yeah.
That is what it is. And it's remarkable to me that we're in a position where Greg Sankey runs college athletics. You don't have to like it, but you better learn to love it, because that dude's pulling the strings.
Right.
And I think that The hardest part for all of the Sankey haters is you would have done the exact same thing that he's done given the opportunity. How do you get away from that?
Yeah, I don't think you get away from it. Because I think it's the truth. It's the reality of the situation. But I think running parallel to that for all of these commissioners is a responsibility to make sure that you don't burn this thing to the ground through greed. And I think that's the thing. Like, even if you take it at a baseline level with just Greg Sankey, like in his what he prioritizes. For Greg Sankey, you can't have a situation where your greed puts you in a position that's less than ideal.
Totally
where
agree.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't be too aggressive to a point where you burn people out. And I think that for me is what I'm curious about. Where is that line? Where is the limit? Where do we, like, how far can we go before everybody else who's not the SEC in the Big Ten, not Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, stand up and say, hey, this system's not good enough. There needs to be change. And there's more of us than there are of you. And we're going to figure out a way to do this. And because you can kind of start to see where vitriol is starting to rise, where you have the G5 and you've got the Big 12 and the ACC sitting here being all pissed off. And they're like, hey, man, like, we're not making enough money. And, Brett Yormark talking about how, hey, we got to have a look into this contract in 2027. Like, there's a reason for that. They're not just going to sit here and watch you stack on top of your pile of money while they're out here trying to figure out how to survive.
I think if you are Tony Petitti, didn't Tony Petitti go along for the ride?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean,
much to their benefit in the Big Ten, right?
What's he really done that's been transformative?
He's been there 15 minutes.
Yeah. Like,
right. So if I am Brett Yormark, Brett Yormark has got to find a way to shore up his edges. You got to find a way to get your perimeter to a position of strength, which means the bottom half of the Big 12 has to perform. You've got to become an elite basketball product top to bottom.
Yeah.
And it's why BYU, I think, is so critically important. I keep saying this, and I keep like, that's because you're a fat Mormon. Bro, if you don't believe that BYU is critically important to the Big 12, you're out of your mind. Because when that brand wins on the football field and the basketball court, there are no fan bases like it. And people will drive revenue through those programs. Look at Texas Tech. And I know that, again, all my friends in the pew lost their minds and started throwing tortillas at me when I said, hey, the Big 12 is suffering under the weight of Texas Tech losses.
Yes.
And you needed more in basketball. Monty, first-year coach. Totally get it. Totally get it. All hat, no cattle.
100%.
Joey McGuire has been a pretty frustrating figure. Critical year for the Big 12 right now. Right now. Year one of the expanded football playoff right now.
Who's going to have the most representation? Oh, that's right. I already know.
And I just will continue to go back to the fact that this conference, the Big 12, doesn't have a brand. So you don't have to, you can hate Greg Sankey all you want, but what's going on inside your walls? You just picked up 4 nameplates, and 2 of those 4 at Colorado and at Utah. And I would, as soon as Kenny Dillingham doesn't have Herm Edwards' bag on his forehead, maybe they will actually be able to build and continue to strive, because I think Kenny Dillingham's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
But you better pay attention, because my feeling is Colorado and Utah are going to have – Utah's going to win the conference and Colorado's going to be top 5. And you're going to hate it. And you're going to rip Deion Sanders on the show every single day of the football season.
Every moment you get.
But you should be upset with, if you're a fan of the Raiders, if you're a fan of – you pick your team in this league. If you're a fan of TCU, be pissed at Sonny Dykes. Don't be pissed at Deion Sanders. Right? All I can tell you is this league is vulnerable inside and out. And it's because of the appetite of Greg Sankey to consume. That guy just eats. That doesn't make him a bad guy. It doesn't make him a villain. It makes him a really good businessman.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Your thoughts. Brandon Butler So how long before your boy Booker requests a trade from the Suns there, Monty? Should already be wearing purple and gold. And Jake, I'm sure, won't back me up on this because he doesn't support me in a goddamn thing on this show.
Right.
I told you it was a mistake for Booker to sign that extension in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. You've been saying that. I remember going back to before the extension was even a thing on Book's rookie deal, where you were talking about, like, yeah, he's going to go to the Lakers at some point. And they had struggled. The Suns had struggled for all those years while it was Point Book and everybody else on that garbage ass roster. Garbo, please. Yeah, I mean, you've been talking about that for years. I mean, at least 5 years that I can remember.
I think you have to trade one of those three players. You're not trading Kevin Durant. I doubt you're trading Devin Booker. My guess is Brad Beal's ass is gone.
Brad.
You're going to get a new head coach and staff, and you're going to trade Brad Beal because they have no draft picks.
Yeah.
They're cash strapped and they have no draft picks.
But my feeling is you can figure it out with Book and KD, right? Like, obviously, those two guys seem to work together just fine. And
I would agree.
And when Brad wasn't out there, the offense was fine. But I'm telling you, they got torched in this series because they were not. And I agree with you. Defense is definitely a thing they need to address. But they weren't running offense. It basically was just, what Kobe used to call, like hope basketball. Like, hey, we're accidental basketball. We're gonna run a pick. We're gonna drive the paint. We're gonna kick it out. Like, that's all they're doing. And that's not gonna be good enough against really athletic teams that can keep up with you physically. Like, if you can get around the pick or you can switch and still be fine, pick and roll to kick is not going to do anything for you. You got to run like legit offense. It's
why Jalen Brunson is so unbelievably good. Do you guys understand that he scored or assisted 72% of their offense last night? Who do the Suns have that? And I am tending to come to your direction. I would trade Bradley Beal. I would remake that roster. And I think I probably would try to find Mike Conley on the Suns makes them a championship team. That's the guy you need. That's the guy you need, in my opinion.
You need to get Devin Booker and Kevin Durant off the ball and in positions to do what they do. That's it. Brandon
Butler can't trade Brad. He has a no trade clause. When has a no trade clause ever stopped somebody from being traded?
Yeah.
That's
no trade clause only matters if Brad Beal is going to enforce it.
Yeah, and I would guess he wouldn't. Why would anyone be pissed? Capazzo, hello. Why would anyone be pissed at Neon Dion? I can't imagine. Can't imagine. James, the test of how new teams will do is week 4. Utah at Oak State. Whoever wins this will be the favorite to win the conference. Aaron Wilson. Make it so easy. Aaron Wilson, Tech has to step up. Greg Sankey consumes. Who the hell is he? Thanos?
Yeah.
He is. He is. UW fan Jim. Tony Petiti will grate a new pair of cement shoes when Sankey is done using him to consolidate power. You're probably not wrong. Custom fit shoes, too. OG Gary, rip the Band-Aid off. Hurry up with the Super League. I'm saying.
But again, Sankey's not going to do that until he's forced. Why would he? Why would you? You're already raking in piles of money.
I do think that's the issue. I think Greg Sankey does not want to lose leverage. And if a Super League is formed, he automatically loses leverage. Unless he becomes the all-knowing overlord of the Super League.
Look what he said to Ross Dellinger, right? He goes and says, hey, dude, like, why would we change anything, man? Like, I'm not talking about it because I don't need to talk about it. We're raking it in.
I haven't talked about the Super League, and I'm not going to do it today. The fact that people have interest in throwing ideas out, that's up to them. I spend my time on what I have to do.
And then look at the other one. This is the better one right here. Look at this.
All the private equity, if you use the cliche, quote, if I was buying stock, I'd buy stock in college sports. Well, apparently there are a lot of people who believe that outside of college sports. Something is going right. he did note the industry's, quote, serious issues.
So-
you mean like NIL lawsuits that you're going to lose?
So let me get this right. Even with those, Greg's not sweating because he's got so much money. Those lawsuits don't really matter to him because he's not only got the best football conference in the country, but because of that, he's got I'm telling you, he's got a war chest just sitting
He's got
here
all the leverage
at his disposal, bro. Like,
he's got all the leverage. The NIL lawsuits, and
like
you
man.
just remember, hey, I remember Uncle Monty
Monty.
said that on the Monty program one day.
Hey, look here, man.
When you guys are all standing around circle jerking at Bucky's eating your barbecue sandwiches. Okay? And James is
putting a new definition on pulled pork. You know what I mean?
When James is putting on a demonstration about plucking minnows out of Oak State Gundy's mullet. And you guys are like, man, the dexterity of this bun. Is this brioche? Just remember Uncle Monty told you that I don't remember what I wanted to get credit for, but all I can say is that I think this Super League is inevitable.
Yes.
And I think Greg Sankey knows that.
And he's going to delay that thing as long as he can.
Yes, he will.
And the only thing, in my opinion, that will move Greg off his position is ESPN. I honestly, because once ESPN gets involved and starts pushing back, then Greg's going to have to be like, okay, now our TV partners are pushing back. This has much bigger picture ramifications. Now I got to acquiesce a little bit.
Yep, I agree. San Diego State, Glenn. I read last week that Brad Beal has a no trade clause in his contract.
Right.
It's a pro rata he deserves.
Right. Again,
sorry,
yes, he has a no trade, but if he doesn't enforce it, he doesn't like.
Brad Beal, guys like Bradley Beal, I think what you're going to see is that they will go to him and they will say, hey, where do you want to go? Let me see what I can do. And they're going to wind up eating a lot of his contract.
Yep.
I think it's highly unlikely that Booker or KD wind up in a different spot.
Yeah.
You just don't see those guys get traded very often.
Well, and again, I think those two together with a core of complementary players you just have much better basketball flow, right? With two guys on it's the Lakers model. LeBron and AD, everyone else has a job to do, right? Like, it's not hard to understand.
It's that or Bradley Beal winds up rotting away on a bench, which he does not want to do. He only left Washington because he wanted to win.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see. No trade clauses do not mean you can't get traded.
And this is where I say to the Suns, make Brad Beal first guy off the bench. Make him the sixth man.
Yeah, Mike Phillips. Brad did an excellent job reducing his own trade value.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, how bad were you this year? Like, and I think about Brad Beal's injury issues. Bring him off the bench, dude. Do you think anybody forgot about how many games you missed early in the year with your bad back? Do you think anyone forgot about that? Do you think anyone forgot about the fact that Kevin Durant missed a bunch of time this year? I didn't forget about that. So my point is, lighten the guy's minutes load and bring him off the bench and rotate those three through the roster.
I mean, this is easily the worst year of his career. Bradley Beal, 53 games, averaged 33 minutes and 18 points. I look at obviously he shot the three very well for them, but I just don't see that he is a player of leverage, man. Like,
he wasn't a problem. The defense didn't have to respect him.
No. And his defense was not respectable.
Garbo.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, no doubt. Stepanek says, doctor's appointment time, everyone. Have a great day. Hope you are well.
Good luck, bro.
Big Daddy Magic.
Oh, this should be good.
Hey, playa. Booker is already talking to Victor. Yeah,
Victor's the way.
I'm sure Devin's going to San Antonio. That makes sense. Smoke more weed. Jimmy Otson. What team would Brad Beal approve a trade to? I have no idea.
No clue.
Couldn't even begin to
honestly,
guess.
I don't. I think if I'm Brad Beal, I don't want to be traded. I want to find a way to make it work in Phoenix. And I'm telling you, that would include him being a sixth man. Think about it. It makes perfect sense. Hey, I'm gonna be the first guy off the bench, and all I got to do is what I've done my entire career in Washington, which is go out and put the ball in the hole. It's a perfect transition for this club.
Yeah, if you look at their money,
like they're screwed, dude. You don't have
$35 million under.
Bro, you don't have draft picks, and you're way in the hole on luxury tax.
And you are paying Bradley Beal $50.2 million. And it is and he's not a free agent till 2027. I mean, it's outrageous. It is absolutely outrageous. He is due $50 million, $53 million, and $57 million in a player option.
Jesus.
Which you are not relinquishing that money. And I don't know what you do with that. And the other issue for Devin Booker is that Book's not a free agent till 28. And he's also due 53, 57, and 61. Like, I don't know what you do with this roster. I really don't, because you just extended Grayson Allen.
You got to figure it out.
I mean, dude.
That's why, again, throw him up. That's why Frank Vogel is the question mark here. If you're the Suns front office, right, you have to go out and you got to say, okay, so we moved on from Monty Williams to go ahead and get Frank Vogel. That clearly didn't work. Monty Williams took this roster further, and obviously roster looks a bit different. Of course, they made changes, but in the prior incarnation, you made it much further. You went to the finals. So this is regression as far as the organization is concerned.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this is all on Frank Vogel, because I am not a believer in that. I don't believe that coaches are the sole purpose as to win or lose like some people do in Suns Nation. But what I am telling you is that this roster needs someone to come in who can gain the respect of the players right away. Because I'm telling you right now, this little escapade that Frank Vogel ran in the locker room last week,
where did you guys hear about that? He faked the players felt Frank Vogel lost his shit in the locker room. I guess 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the players apparently rolled their eyes at him and thought it was fake. Because I know Frank Vogel a little bit. He's not a guy that loses his mind. He doesn't yell at people. Apparently, he went in there and just lit them up. And that's where this team died, they say. But I don't even know. I don't even know what you do if you're the Suns. I mean, Matt Ishbia's got a lot of money, dude. And yeah. I totally understand that he wants to win. You don't buy yourself championships like this. You just don't. And I think it's going to be really difficult for him to go out and replace Frank Vogel. And I just don't know. I mean, Kevin Young just left for BYU.
Yeah.
So he's out. Right? I mean, if I guess Kenny Atkinson at Golden State. But I think you've got to find somebody like a Mike D'Antoni. You've got to find somebody that can come in and instill energy into that offense, because you're not stopping anybody.
Yeah.
You're not stopping anybody. And my real opinion is that the only way to save this thing is to trade one of those three guys. And Kevin Durant and Devin Booker have shown they play together well.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying they're not going anywhere. And yeah, I'm happy to sit here and criticize Kevin. I think, so Shams reported allegedly that sources tell him that Kevin was unhappy that he was, quote, relinquished to the corner in their offense too often. And to that, I say, dude, you're Kevin Durant. Like, you're one of the best players the game's seen in the last 20 years. And you're telling me you got relinquished to the corner? That doesn't add up for me. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Not the part where he may have gotten pushed to the corner, but the part that he would allow that to happen. The part where you want to sit here and tell me that you aren't getting enough of the ball and you're Kevin Durant. You're not, again, if Brad Beal had said that, okay, I understand that, because that's Brad Beal's role in the offense. You go down to the corner, then you come out onto the wing after someone sets a screen for you. That's pretty much what you do. Kevin gets a ton of the ball, dude. So I don't buy those reports. I think that Kevin Durant and probably Devin Booker didn't quite get along with Frank. That's what I think it probably was, that the relationship, while was not strong enough for these two to truly like buy in completely to what they were trying to do.
I think Mike D'Antoni is the right guy. You need a player's coach that runs high octane offense, because I just don't see this team being able to. I was pleasantly surprised as a Devin Booker homer. I was pleasantly surprised. His defense is at least twice as good as I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, again, I was pleasantly surprised. Bradley Beal is not a good defender at all.
No.
And I also think you look at the rest of this supposed roster, and how many guys do you think? I mean, is Nurkic a long-term fit there?
Yeah, I think he is.
But the guy can't play.
Well,
The guy, like, he's a
it's
lumbering.
It's matchup based, just like anybody else. But
like Royce O'Neal was horrendous.
yeah, he made some shots last night, but he didn't live up to it overall.
Horrendous. And you just go up, like, I think Eric Gordon was fine. He's a fine bench player. Josh Okogie was your best bench player for most of this series.
Yeah, Grayson Allen's the guy you got to look at. Is Grayson Allen someone you're bringing back, or is he someone you're shipping out? Because
no, you're keeping him. You just extended him. He's got to be healthy. They missed him.
Yeah.
He's your best defender. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even, I don't even think that's a conversation.
That's why I say I think the quickest, most efficient way to figure this out is removing Vogel and his staff and bringing a new staff in. Like, I hate to say that after 1 year, but given your cap situation and given the guys you have on this roster, I don't know what else you do, because again, it's just my opinion. It's speculation. I don't know for a fact, but I would guess if you're Brad Beal, you're not trying to get traded. I don't think
I don't think so.
So if that is the case, then yeah, from a money standpoint, your quickest route is a new head coach and new staff. And my only concern with D'Antoni is he's not a defensive guy. Obviously, he's offense first, and that's pretty much it. And I love him for it. Hey, you're unequivocally you, right? Like, you're not trying to be Doc Rivers, where you're trying to say you're a championship head coach and you're anything but that at this point. Mike D'Antoni is saying, hey, we are offense first. We're trying to score 130 a night, and all we got to do is keep teams under 120, 125, and we'll be fine. And so, yeah. And by the way, it would be a bit of a renaissance for Mike. Obviously, he had his time during the Nash era. So, that could be a nice little reunion. So that might work. But yeah. I'm curious to see what they do.
I think they're going to miss Kevin Young. And I think that it'll be very interesting to see how all that works out. I think you hire D'Antoni, and you have got to keep David Fizdale on that staff. And I think you retool your bottom 12 players on this roster, and you tried to trade Brad Beal. That's the best. I think that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah,
that's it. Because I just think that whole move was an abject failure.
I would legit try to sell Brad Beal on being a 6-man for the next couple seasons. I would try to sell him on that and see if you can get him to buy before trying to trade him.
It's an interesting concept. It is an interesting concept. Willie Wilson. Are you the former center fielder?
Willie Wilson.
The Capitals were overmatched against the Rangers.
Overmatched?
Fuck you, Ovechkin.
Bro, they didn't even show up.
Go back to Russia and get the pro rata you deserve. Because it brings great warmth into my respiratory system, into the bosoms of awesomeness that is the sexually satiating body of the Montnator.
His cock.
I am so happy that Ovechkin did not score a point in that series. And as a casual of the Artemi Panarin faithful, I tell you, I want the Rangers to win.
And no, I don't want Ovi to take over Gretzky's all-time scoring record.
Screw Ovi.
Oh, Ovi. And he's just chilling on the left dot, man.
Yeah, go get that Navalny, Ovi.
Yeah.
I can't stand him. I Quite literally.
Who do you hate more as a player?
Your
Ovi or
okay.
Raj?
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. Or I'll throw another one in there. Cody Parkey.
See, why do you do shit like this? We were having a perfectly fine show. And then you got to bring up the double doink. Why? Like, I've never understood this about you.
What? Those are three. That's a good multiple choice question.
Is it because I beat your ass in golf all weekend?
No.
Is that what
No.
Is that why you were so upset?
Apologize to that man.
No.
Why would you bring up Cody Parkey's name?
Because dude is a villain in Chicago. Steve Bartman.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
Now I've given you 4. I've given you 4. I mean,
You couldn't pull Hawk Harrelson to throw in there on top of that?
No, dude. No, I couldn't.
You're not a nice person. Despite what all the hosts say, you're not a nice person.
So Raj then is what you're going with.
Whatever. Off season's going to be wild in the NBA. Too many Lotter for luxury tax teams. Okay. Bucks, Suns, Lakers, Warriors, all going to need to make wholesale changes. Well, I think the Warriors have an easy path to that.
Yeah.
So,
But
and if I'm the
end of an era is
Suns,
coming here.
all I'm saying, if I'm the Suns, I'd rather have Klay Thompson than Bradley Beal.
I think it works better.
But I think Klay wants to be a Laker. So I think everybody wants to be a Laker.
Yeah.
But,
how many more years do we get of KD, Bron, and Steph? Because I don't think it's that many.
2.
Yeah, it's 2 more.
I think it's 2 more.
Yeah.
Because I think Bronny's going to wind up on the Lakers, and he's going to play 2 years with his old man. I think here's the real question. Do you believe this is the real Anthony Davis? Because
how do you mean the real Anthony Davis? Like production-wise?
he's the best. He's been the best player in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
I do agree with him on the disrespect on the defensive end. I do think it's embarrassing he wasn't in the Defensive Player of the Year voting.
You understand that Anthony Davis has been, and it is arguable. I think there's been a lot of special performances so far in this first round.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis has been the best player in the NBA playoffs so far.
Yeah.
He has been elite. He has been a defensive wall. He has been a want-to rebounding machine.
Yeah.
And the guy just has been dominating. It's unreal how good Anthony Davis is when he has no tears, strains, or pulls.
Yeah.
Which is very rare.
Yeah.
Are you seeing enough to invest in him for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the dynamic at play in the league is like, hey, we have to invest in a player regardless of the injury situation, right? Like, so you understand with Davis that, yeah, he's probably going to miss time. This year, though, he didn't miss time. I think what did he have? 74 games, I think he played in the regular season or something like that. So, like, he had a great year. And now, obviously, he's carried that into the postseason. And it's a great performance. And, I look at what he did in the bubble championship. Like, he carried them. He really did. And so the question only is, hey, what kind of year is Davis going to have when that next team invests in him?
Anthony Davis. I think there's only 2 options. Anthony Davis or Jalen Brunson. One of those 2 has been the best player in the NBA playoffs. Anthony Davis, 42 minutes, 30.5 points, 62% from the floor. The guy is averaging 6 free throws a game. 16 fucking rebounds, 4 dimes, and 2 blocks against the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, he's giving Jokic problems. No
Are
doubt.
you out of your mind?
And that's why I say, like, I
Unbelievable.
I think that, people forget what he's capable of. And that's why I say, like Bron and AD works together. The problem is, and I've never been a Bron guy, but I'm seeing this more and more lately, where Bron makes a mistake and wants to blame his teammate, and then Anthony Davis has to clean it up. And I don't really understand that out of LeBron. I don't understand why
LeBron is watching his legacy slip away. I don't think this is complex at all. LeBron James you are watching, and Luka's going through the same thing. You see guys that have these light bulb moments. It's really rare in LeBron's situation because he's inarguably the best player of his generation.
Right.
He's watching the fact that it's playing out and turning into a fact is the right way to say it. He's not going to win another championship. And for guys like LeBron James, do you know how painful that is? Do you know how much that hurts?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard that is to reconcile? That's what you're seeing with him. And I think you're looking at Luka Doncic in Dallas, and he's realizing Kyrie Irving is outplaying him, and they're losing because of it.
Yeah.
And he's starting to understand that he cannot continue to play this style of basketball. And, hey, that's cool. You showed up in a Camaro. Congratulations. You're losing playoff games. And you're the reason you're losing playoff games. And you're starting to understand that. And you're watching guys really struggle.
You think Book thinks about that?
Yes. Devin Booker has openly talked about the fact that you don't play this game to not win championships. Talked about it after the finals, I believe, that year.
Yeah.
You don't play this game to not win championships. You play this game for trophies. It's why am I such a passionate fan of soccer? Because there's only one bar at the end of every season. Nobody gives a crap who finished second, who won the trophy, who won the FA Cup, who won the Champions League, who won the Super League, who won. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And in American sports culture anymore, it's just cool to compete. And guys like Kevin Durant that get torched for hopping teams, I have no problem with it. I've said it repeatedly. Is it neat to win multiple rings in the same place? Yes, it is. How many guys get to do that?
Yeah, it's pretty rare nowadays.
Mike and who else?
Jeter, Steph.
But nobody. The days of one team guy.
Look at Mike Trout. Like, dude's suffering because he's a one-team guy.
Telling you, man, second place doesn't mean a damn thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean a thing. All right. Before we get out of here.
Yeah. We
were in Vegas over the weekend.
Yeah.
And Jake and I went and played some golf. If you haven't played Las Vegas National yet, obviously it's not the nicest course in Las Vegas. I love playing golf there.
Yeah.
We played TPC Las Vegas on Saturday. It was lovely. Lovely. I actually played some pretty good golf. Like, I think it was only 5 over on the front or something like that.
Not nearly as hard as it appears online.
No.
It's a very enjoyable course to play.
Yes. I had a terrible back nine, but I'm going through this phase in golf where I can't hit an iron shot. It's bizarre. Anyway, I was 5 over on the front. Like, it was a lot of fun. Drove the ball pretty well. Great fun. Went to Mastro's for dinner on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I don't like Las Vegas. So one of the cool things was we drove. So we had our own car. So we drove out to Summerlin to play at TPC. Summerlin's beautiful. Henderson is beautiful. South Henderson is beautiful.
Right.
Anything off the strip, and I guess that would be to the east of the strip, sucks ass. I'm out. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I am not doing it. I cannot stand how dirty and dank and run down Las Vegas has become.
Yeah.
And the just overwhelming amount of people that smoke weed on the streets of Las Vegas. It's
incredible.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I love going to Vegas for a weekend. If I'm there 2 nights, and it was a bummer for me because I was stuck with Jake all weekend. But we had a great guys weekend, like sipping on Jameson Orange at Mastro's the other night was phenomenal. We had great conversation, and we're with each other every day, pretty much all day.
Yeah.
But we usually at night and on the weekends, we don't spend a lot of time together.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really nice. We just kind of had a guys' weekend. Mrs. Monty was doing a bachelorette thing with her niece. And it hits you at certain times. Like, it was really nice to just be sipping a whiskey, having a nice steak, and talking about life.
Well, and we got off to a good start too, because we rolled into Vegas on Friday to play Las Vegas National that afternoon, evening. And they had just had a tournament, so the course was empty.
And torrential rain Friday. Yeah. So the course was empty. The best golf you can play is at twilight when the course is empty.
Vibes were immaculate.
And like, we're standing there, and I, on this one hole, and back me up on this, I think I probably hit a 325, 330 yard drive.
Yeah.
Easy 54-degree wedge in.
Yeah.
Right now, as I said, like, it's my wrist hinge right now. I'm certain of it, but I'm just not hitting my irons well. So we stood there, and I hit this awesome drive right down the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. Yep.
And I shanked this 54 off into like Elko, Nevada.
No.
So we just threw some balls on the ground because there's nobody really chasing us, nobody behind us, and worked on wedge shots from about 80 yards. It was great.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that, right? And then on the last hole, it's pretty much dark out.
Yeah.
So we're standing around the green working on short chips, working on like 30 yards, 60 degrees.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so, like, it just was a really good weekend. But you recognize, like, walking from, we stay at a Marriott property because we're owners at Marriott, right? So you can walk from City Center. Mastro's Ocean Club is at City Center, Las Vegas, to the Marriott, right? So you're just walking, and the dichotomy of humanity, super wealthy, middle class, teenagers, 20-somethings, and indigent, homeless, addicted people. And you just, it's wild to me.
Yeah.
I don't love Vegas anymore. I used to love going. It was so much fun. Now all I want to do is play golf, sip some whiskey, and have a nice meal with my family or my friends,
and then have a nice relaxing night of sleep where you're not stressed.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I just think that, I didn't get the joy of growing up when Vegas was in its prime, when Vegas was like the spot. And so much anymore, I just feel like Vegas is like an event town where you go. Like this weekend, it was packed. There was this huge, music.
There was a massive rock show.
Yeah.
And then out by the Raiders
racetrack.
The racetrack. There was also a thing at the racetrack.
Yeah.
There was a home and garden show, or a home and outdoor show, I guess it is, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
A rock concert, an EDM, like a rock festival, an EDM festival.
Yeah.
Was off the hook this weekend. But it was funny. The same server takes care of us at Mastro's, a gal named Sam.
Yeah.
She's been taking care of us for 10 years, I think now. And she lives in Las Vegas. And one of the things I think that is so underrated is how difficult it is to be an employee. Now, she does other stuff. She only, the people at Mastro's make between $800 and $1,000 a night. So you understand it. But if you're somebody that drives an Uber, if you're somebody that works at a table, if you're somebody that works in Vegas, man, that's got to be tough, because it is truly a tourist town. Oh, and the Golden Knights were in town the other night.
Yeah. For a playoff game.
Like the way we were sitting at the Aria Sportsbook.
Yeah.
Which is, I love that place. The way that one of the customers was talking to the waitress was unbelievable. I just wanted to smack that guy because he was pissed his club soda was $9.
Yeah.
And he's saying to the waitress, what the fuck are you going to do about it? I'm not paying $9 for that. Am I comped the rest of the time? And she's like, well, I can't comp you. Like I mean, I'm happy. And she said, I'm happy to give you one free drink. I'm sorry you're so upset. The price is on the card. Like, have a little respect for the service people. Like,
yeah, they're just the messenger.
It's wild to me.
Yeah.
It's what, like, the LA crowd in Vegas can be really difficult to deal with. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, Vegas is uniquely located, obviously, where you get the LA crowd, but you also get Phoenix and you get Salt Lake. And dude, we saw so many folks from Idaho over the weekend, dude. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it just is. I'm with you. I'm 2 nights and then I'm pretty much done. And if I can have a Monday off following a Vegas weekend, that's probably primo. That's probably like the absolute most ideal way to do it. But it's not 2 nights in Vegas isn't terrible.
Wow, Vlad Golden withdrew from the draft and signed with Michigan basketball. Wow, that's a shocker. That is a shock. Now, obviously, Dusty May's the new coach but holy cow, that's a big one. And also, Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason out at the NFL on CBS.
Damn.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Anyway, all right. The Monty Show, as always, presented by our good friends at The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. My friends, if you get hurt at work today, you get in an accident, almost got murked by a semi-truck over the weekend. My unbelievable driving in a BMW saved my ass. Our ass. Go to The Advocates. You get in a car wreck, you get hit by a truck, you get hurt at work. TheAdvocates.com. Chat with an injury attorney live online for free, 24/7, 365. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.